All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome wherever you're joining us. We are going to be talking today about event storming. And so let me go ahead and share the screen so you can see. We're going to go through a few slides and then I will drop you into activities. This is going to be very interactive. As you have questions, please ask. All right. Share, and I want to share that screen. Sure. All right. So you should see slides for today.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Let's go. So what is event storming? As you see with our screenshot, there's all sorts of sticky notes, all sorts of Post-its with different words going on. So we will talk about what those sticky notes are. We will talk about the arrow going across. We'll actually get involved and you will be creating sticky notes as part of this workshop. But it is a collaborative workshop. So it is bringing all the people in the room who need to be there, the people with the questions and the people with the answers, and having those conversations, tearing down those silos in the complex business systems. That's the key thing to focus on. Is it's a business area that is complex. Forget the technical part of it. So as developers, software architects, we want to see the code, we want to see the architecture, we want to get into that kind of stuff. But that's not what this is necessarily about. Today we're talking about the business side, the business experience, the going through the process and identifying these things. Because honestly, if we go and have these conversations before we write code, we're going to be closer to what we need to develop and what we need to solve. And honestly, with some of these conversations, you may find out that you don't have to write code and the problem is a communications thing. So in event storming, we'll take a look. In today's example, we'll look at a process. We'll talk about the grammar as we get into it, but notice that it's going to be the key thing is the conversations. And they're going to have different colors for the sticky notes. I'll talk about things like systems. So that's what the pink ones are. We'll talk about events, which are the orange ones. The other ones we'll talk about are the little yellow ones, which are the users. We'll get into those as well. Because this is a time box experience, we will not be getting into the commands, which are the blue, and we will not be getting into what they call the read models. And I'll talk about those as we use them, but we won't cover that today just because of a shortage of time. Trying to condense everything into 1 hour, it's tricky. So event storming, you're gathering right now that there's a lot of conversations going on. There's sticky notes. We have a visual representation of these conversations. But what can we use this for? So the three main ones are the ones that I have bolded here. So big picture, imagine you have to go talk to the C-levels or the marketing folks and you're trying to figure out what is the business? What is the vision? What is the product? And where is this going to, how does it impact all the silos? Big picture gets everybody in the room from the highest level, trying to understand it all. Everything is there. Event storming for process modeling, which is what we'll deal with today, focuses on just a single process. And you can narrow it down even further. So for today's example, we'll specifically look at a process and we'll specifically look at the happy path. We're not going to take any of the broken parts in there. And that's just because, again, time boxing. When we do these with our clients, again, there's time boxing, but we also have a lot more than an hour. These are usually 3 to 4 hours, sometimes multiple days, 3 to 4 hours, depending on what we're trying to solve. Event storming for system design. So when you're building systems and architecting systems, that gets into a different conversation. There are even fewer people involved with that. We'll have trainings for that coming out in 2024, so be aware of that. But those are the big three. The other two that I like to mention are what I call event storming for people experience. And the reason why I call that is because people could translate to user experience, or it could be developer experience. It could be customer experience. There are all different types of experiences for the different roles out there. So you could use event storming for people experience. And then I like using event storming for refactoring legacy applications, because when you look at a legacy application, you may just get overwhelmed by code, and especially if you have like the big ball of mud, spaghetti code, just code that is all so entangled, it's just a mess. Sometimes you just need to have conversations about what should that code be doing, then tease out what your legacy refactor will turn into. And I have a conference talk coming up in the next couple months on event storing for refactoring. So you'll see that later. But today we're going to talk about the event storming for process modeling. Okay. Big picture, again, this is one of the key 3 to know about. Nobody knows the whole story. So this is why we have to get everybody involved. We have to get the people who have the questions. We have to have the people who have the answers. Again, most of these environments where you're using event storming, they're silos. And so we need to tear down those silos and we need to talk. But know that we're looking for understanding things about our situation. So maybe understanding the implications of a product when we release it. How does it impact certain groups? How does it impact marketing in terms of how they're going to market the product versus sales and what they need to focus on? What does QA or what do our customer support people already anticipate are going to be issues that we didn't see coming? This is where you have those conversations, and you do this upfront if you can. That way you have a lot of these roadblocks that we usually see during development move to the beginning and usually resolve before we have to write the code. Process modeling is what we're going to deal with today. It's a collaborative exercise. Again, usually a smaller number of people. How many of you are gamers? And how many of you play cooperative games? So you're all trying to, you're trying to work together as a team to tackle a common opponent of some sort. So think of event storming for process modeling as it is a cooperative game. Everybody, human-wise, we're trying to solve a problem. And whatever that problem is, that's the opponent we need to defeat. So we'll be taking a look at how do we have those conversations and how do we beat whatever the problem is. And then you might have to realize that some of the terms that you use are specifically technical or specifically to your area. And in order to get everybody on the same page, you need to figure out words that work for everybody. And system design, when you're dealing with event storming for system design, we use it for designing solutions. The goal for that particular process is to agree on a solution. So the goal of big picture is exploratory, is understanding, it's discovery, it's trying to understand a shared understanding. With process modeling, it's looking at that process, making sure everybody's on the same page, identifying the pain points, identifying the unknowns, and then solving for those unknowns. With system design, it's how do we make this work on a solution from a system solution. And the key problem with system design is usually you're dealing with system designers, software architects, senior devs, so you have to deal with more egos in that sense. Not so much like C-level types, but there's a different set of egos that you have to deal with in system design. So you have to try to get, the whole goal is put the egos aside, have the conversations, and remember you're all working together to solve a problem. You want to hide any unnecessary complexity. Complexity in general makes it hard for our users. If we can take that complexity and lessen it for them, it makes life easier in the long run. So event storming was founded by this gentleman, Alberto Brandolini. And he also has presentations out there. I think it's 50,000 stickies later and 100,000 sticky later, something like that. So he's done a lot of these event storming sessions. And so lots of posts, lots of sticky notes. But the thing that he points out with event storming is it's all about the people. Merge the people, split the software. Bring the people together, have them talk and have those conversations, have them have a shared understanding. But with that software, then they can split it out and work with it that way. And as Steve Smith points out, he apparently counts the stickies. Oh, goodness. I'm waiting for 1 million stickies later just on principle. Okay. All right, so that's it for slides. And the reason why it's real short on slides is because I want to spend more time with you all doing the activities. So I'm going to post a link here in the Zoom chat. We will continue to use Zoom for the audio. And the visual that you were seeing here is not me as presenter, but it is me in another browser window. So I will have the screen shared so that you can see what it would be looking like on your end as well. We're using a tool called Miro. So let's have you go to the link in chat.
Right. So if you can't participate and you just want to watch, you should still be able to just watch the screen in Zoom. But if you can, then it's obviously better if you can participate in Miro.
And do you hear the chainsaws? Just so I can make sure that they're not going.
No, totally quiet on your side.
Nice. Not outside my window. All right. Let's go.
Joining presentation. Here we are.
So when you sign into Miro, you don't have to sign in. You can be anonymous, and that is fine as well. That URL will take you in as a visitor. And the thing that it'll ask you to do, they'll tell you to join presentation or not now. Please click join presentation. If you're like bad habits like I do and accidentally click not now, there's a join button in the upper right corner. Now you're going to see on my screen the whole sign up for free. This is because I'm an anonymous account, so don't mind that. We'll take a look at how to use these tools here in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and move over to the next frame. Then I will show you what all that means. Okay, so this is hidden, so let me unhide it. So we're going to work with Miro. Now, again, this is the tool we're working with. There is an option with the left-hand side. So you should see a menu on the left-hand side. If you do not, if your mouse sits still for too long, it will hide away. So as it just did on my screen. All you have to do is move the mouse and it appears again. What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you answer the question, what are your favorite foods? Now, do not click a sticky just yet. I want to show you what this looks like. So I'm going to create a sticky by coming to the left, selecting sticky note. If I do one click, I can see all the different colors that are available. This particular exercise, the color doesn't matter. And the reason why I say don't do this just yet is because there are a couple features you want to know about. So I'm going to just select a sticky and drag it out on the frame on the white area. And I'm just going to say that maybe my favorite food here is key lime pie. You all can see my post-it that I created looking on your Miro screen, correct? Okay. So that's what it looks like when we have the ability to see who's typing. I want to show you one more thing. I see Steve is over there. You can also do bulk mode. So if you select the sticky note and come down to the very bottom where it says bulk mode, I'm gonna click on bulk mode. What's nice here is if you want to say, and that's why this question is, what are your favorite foods? Let's say you have multiple favorite foods. Like in the summertime, I like making s'mores. Then maybe I also like cookies. I like tacos and pizza. So all I have to do is type and press enter and it'll give me another line, type, press enter. And then if I'm done, I can go ahead and tell it done, or I can do, on my screen, it says control enter because I'm on a Windows machine. I don't know if it shows something different for Macs, but then I can go ahead and create these. Now, before I create them, if I wanted to say, you know what, tacos, I want to be orange and cookies can be, it'll be black with white text. And s'mores just to show you, you can create different colors as well in bulk mode and done, and then it'll add it to the frame. So there are various ways. We will probably use bulk mode when it comes to the actual event storing part, but I am going to turn on private mode. And that way you can create your sticky notes and nobody else will see what yours says until we reveal them. And I'm going to set a timer. And that timer is going to be for 2 minutes. And just have you list some of your favorite foods.
So Sarah, while it's hidden to everybody, can you see them or is it hidden to you too?
It is hidden to me too. So what you're seeing for those watching in Zoom, you're seeing that it is a regular attendee, but even in the presenter mode, all I see are the ones that I created prior to turning on private mode. And then I see the ones that I'm typing myself currently. So the ones that you do see are the ones I did before I turned private mode on. And then when I turn private mode off, we'll be able to see all of them.
I wonder how well the cluster analysis works in Miro with something like this.
Well, we can find out. I got about 20 seconds. I like that the timers are showing on here. So when time is up, it'll tell you time's up. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn off private mode. Just so you can see what this looks like. Turn it off. Now we get to see all sorts of answers.
A few of us like filet mignon.
I see some fillets. I see some pizzas. And of course, I had to do the emoji to show that you can use emoji on the post-its. I will be that person who will forever toss in random symbols and emoji just on principle. Does it work? What's nice about this too is that I can, and I'm going to drag this one over here. When you're working with multiple post-its, oh, I didn't like that. I'm going to see, can zoom out and highlight these. So when you're working in Miro and you highlight those, there is a way that you can cluster these. And so I could say I want to cluster them by author or color or tag. They also have the ability to do keywords and sentiment. I'm just going to go with color by now, just so you can see what that looks like. And I don't know if you can see how much it dragged it off.
Yeah, and you can mouse wheel in and out to zoom if people don't know that.
Yep. And I'm right clicking and dragging in order to move around on here.
And some of them went underneath one of your hidden windows.
I see that. I see that. The other thing to know with these, and I'm going to undo the clustering, bring them all back, is that I can turn on the author. So now we know who all posted what. Now, later on, we will dedupe things, but we don't need to get into the deduping and voting part. The other thing I want to show is when you have your post-it selected, you should see this bar up here with the various formattings. For what we're dealing with today, I'm going to say use this size. So select size and small. And then font size, whatever size works for you. I usually try to do 14 to 18 just because I keep zooming in a lot, and I'll type in, of course, it's not going to do it, but I'll end up zooming in so that we can see things. All right, so this is the, how do you create the stickies? Any questions about this before we move on? Seems pretty straightforward. Okay. The other thing with Miro, so again, this is, I'm on the attendee view. I can scroll around. Hey, look, there's a lot of stuff hidden there, but I can't really get into it. But where did our presenter go? And you should have an option at the bottom that says return to Sarah. And so if you click return to Sarah, that'll take you back to wherever I as the presenter am. All right, next frame, which is also hidden. And I will unhide that.
Do you want to do you want to show how to follow you? Isn't that a thing in the top right?
That is a thing. And it is in the top right when we're not in presenter mode, but when we are in presenting mode, it'll be in the bottom.
I see. So where is that?
So you at the bottom, you should see where your emojis are and reactions. To the right of that is where the participants are.
Right. Okay.
And we'll tell view all 7 participants. And you should see Sarah Dukevich presenter. And so if you click on Sarah Dukevich It doesn't clearly, it's not clear that you're following the person, but you'll see the return to Sarah should appear. Or if I wanted to say, what is Steve Smith doing? I could follow Steve. And then you'll see where it goes. Right now, I'm going to follow Sarah Dukevich. And then that way, as you scroll around and you're like, where did she go? That's how you find me. All right, and I am going to zoom in because I cannot read little font. All right, so we're going to talk about a scenario that I hope all of you are familiar with. How many of you have bought something online? We're going to go with a process that you all know. Let's stick with just the happy path. Let's not talk about getting the product and then it shows up broken or it gets lost. Let's go with you have an item that you're ordering online and actually you already ordered it. You have to explain this process to the person who lives next door to you who doesn't understand this internet shopping stuff. So you need to tell them what are the steps that happened in here. Key is what happened in the past. So you're going to grab sticky notes. And for this round, I don't care what color you use. We'll talk about that here. But you're going to grab a sticky note. And I'm going to leave this out of private mode so you have it for an example. And I'm going to say I searched for an item online. And that's something I figured that's what I would start with. Size small, 24 font. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to turn the private mode back on so that you all can create these sticky notes. Don't worry about duplicating somebody else's. We deal with that in the next round. So that's why we're going to turn private mode on here. And so I'm going to set the timer for about we'll go 5 minutes and have you go ahead and create some sticky notes on what happened when you bought an item from an online shop. What were the steps that were taken?
And not just by us, but by anyone else to fulfill that transaction right up until it got to your door, right?
Correct. We want to go from you had an idea for an item that you really wanted to buy online to you received it. And if there are too many cursors going on where you're working, if you want to scroll over to the right and then drag the sticky notes over in here, that's fine. When the timer is up, I will zoom out and I will grab all the sticky notes to bring over here as well. All right, less than a minute left. All right. Let's turn off private mode and see what everybody came up with. Yeah, I see that explosion. There are a lot of post-its going on here. A lot of post-its. I'm gonna in fact zoom out a little bit so you can just catch it all. And watching them, I saw some of you were like dragging them. It looked like maybe dragging them in order. Well, let's take a look and see. I take them all and read those. Let's turn the authors on for there and here. All right. So let's talk about what everyone was seeing. Let's zoom in to see. We have, oh, there's an open Amazon. You all can come off mute and let's talk about this. Where were you starting at?
Who are you talking to? The ones that did the pale yellow?
We could talk about the pale yellow. Or actually any of you. Yeah, go ahead.
It's me. Yeah, open Amazon, search for something, for item, maybe several type of items, review, then click add to shopping cart, like here present in front of you, then open shopping cart. Assuming I have everything already entered, just choose to pay and it's confirmed delivery address, payment type, and click process payment. Done.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Cool. Can I take 1 second to distract from the main point here for a moment?
Sure.
The third card there, review the item, is like exactly what you would do. Like you look at it and review and make sure it's what you want. But in the context of like Amazon, it would also be like leaving a review for an item. So this is an example where like when you're doing domain-driven design, you have to be real careful about the language that you use because it's easy to get, you know, confused between what the different words mean in different contexts. So like when I first saw that, I was like, how are you leaving a review for something? You haven't even bought it yet. But then I thought about it and I was like, oh yeah, of course you're reviewing, make sure it's what you want. So anyway, that was all.
Okay, good point.
And the green one is doing another step that I skipped, which is reading reviews. So on the topic of reviews, whoever the green ones down below are.
Yeah, who are these green ones down below?
They don't want to talk.
That's fine. That's fine. So I'm looking here to see what other, like, did we all have a common starting point with like the opening of Amazon? So we need to, for this next round, we need to put them in order. And this is where we need to put them in order and kind of deduplicate them. So I see things like added item to cart and compared similar items and things like that. Let's take a couple minutes looking at our own post-its and see if there's a particular order that makes sense.
A good trick you can do if you want them to be like horizontally lined out is just select your group of stickies, and then there will be a little icon that'll appear in the top right with the little 4 dots. Actually, just below that, even right with your selection Sarah, I think you've seen it, but that little circle
it
with 4
is.
dots, yeah.
Yep.
That you can use. So like yours is already in a row, but like the 6 blue ones over there to the left, if you grab those, you
Yep.
can use that thing to
The 4
just
dots.
pull it into a line. Just like drag it to the right, drag the 4 dots to the right, and it'll turn it into a line. So just grab all the items again. Just highlight them all.
And say blue's moving them, so I'm
Blue's
not going to
doing it.
move
Yeah,
them.
you can't mess with it. Fair enough.
Yep.
But yeah, but that's an easy way to just put them out into a horizontal line. Then it's easy to kind of move them around and get them in a sequence.
And as you're getting them in an order, I'm going to take a look and see if it makes it any easier for us to see our common starting points so that we can start creating events in their orange stickies. And this was a trick I learned from Ardalis, from Steve Smith, on using any color for this round. And then that way we all can choose different colors. Or if we choose the same colors, we at least can isolate ourselves in different sections.
Now, sometimes this is done in a actual physical space, like a conference room or something with real stickies. And this process is often just kind of crowdsourced. Like everybody's up at the wall or the whiteboard, and they're all moving stickies around and grouping them together and stuff. So, don't feel like you can't touch anyone else's things. Just try and like group together the things in the same sequence.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what we're ready to do now, Sarah.
Yeah, that's what we're ready to do.
All right.
Yeah, we're ready to get them into a sequence. To figure with us having our own individuals, getting it into a sequence may make it easier for us to create the master. And I see so Steve Smith is moving his over and lining it up against, it looks like under the yellow one. So where things are falling into play. If you also want to do that, we can use yellow as a guide. Should zoom out here because I have a few cards of my own that I added. I'll move them out of the way. There we go. As we start lining these up, we're starting to find our timeline. Don't worry about the duplicates because we will use that to go into the next frame. I'll have it so that we only have the post-its for each step. The item was delivered, got the text message, got the email. Oh, I know that one all too well. And for those watching the Zoom who aren't in the Miro, I've zoomed out so you can see how people are moving the notes around. Just from a larger scale, you can see the overall overview. And yeah, if you see other sticky notes that, they need to be grouped together, that's fine to move them as long as nobody else is moving it at the same time. So that's usually with this. I check to see, is there another cursor over by the post-it that I need to move? No, okay, then I'm gonna safely move it. All right, what do we have hanging around up top there? Well, that's pretty cool. Learning the different vendors, watching the videos. Yeah, makes sense. All right, looks like post-its are still moving a little bit. I'm going to grab them and put them into the next frame so that we can delete them. But I want to capture this particular state because it's awesome to watch how this thing evolves. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the post-its. Are we done moving those? Do those other two need to come up? Be okay with those there. And I'm going to grab these. Oh, not that. All of these. All right, so we're going to go to the next frame. And so on my one here, I'm going to return to Sarah. And it's hidden for now, but we're going to make that visible. And we're going to zoom into it. So this is the order of the events. And now that we have some ordering, I'm going to paste them all over here and drag them into our frame. We have a arrow. Let me zoom out enough. You see this arrow? This is the timeline, hopefully chronologically from left to right. All right, now that we have all of those on there, let's get rid of the duplicates and make this a little simpler to work with. So I'm going to go back into zooming in. And we'll start changing some of these into oranges as we dedupe them. So is everyone okay if we leave it as Open Amazon?
I mean, what other online stores are there?
I mean, there's Etsy, there are other marketplaces. So, but with this being in the spirit of events, we need to use past tense. So this will be Open Amazon. So this goes back to the whole what happened. So here we search for an item. There's search for item sorting by price, another search for items, search for product by type. We get into some very different specifics. For now, I'm going to go with what's in line, because that makes sense. And we'll turn that one orange. Then I'm going to get rid of the duplicates at the moment. And then our filtered search results, that's in past. Compared similar items, reviewed alternatives. Is there a preference on wording?
When I said compared similar items, you know, sometimes you can do like select a couple of items and have like a side-by-side comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And then it shows you kind of like a matrix kind of a comparison. That was what I had in mind when I wrote that one.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
I think it might be two different actions, review and then compare.
Yeah, the review is just reading other user reviews.
Okay.
You know, read all of the other user reviews about this.
I think that's a different use of the word reviews again. I think that's the next card that the next sticky that we see.
Right.
When I see
Okay.
alternatives, I'm thinking of, you know, sometimes you look at a manufacturer and you see down below that manufacturer, different other manufacturers that have the same kind of product. So
Right. Like one of them is
different than comparing.
one of them is like General Electric and the other one is like, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh or something you've never heard of. It's like, oh no,
Right.
which one do I trust?
All right. So we've got, I would say you probably are reading it before you're comparing. Just reading the initial, or were you comparing and then you're reading?
Yeah, reading first.
Reading
Definitely.
first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll move reading product reviews here. Then, and so that one is gone, and this one is going to go orange. And then comparing similar items versus reviewing alternative items. So reviewed alternatives, again, you're talking about reading reviews,
No, I think that's
No.
talking about considering alternatives.
Yeah,
considering,
you know, like the
Considered,
listing might show like similar products or people who bought this also bought,
right?
something else.
okay, let's call that considered, just because we're having review all over in various contexts, it's getting more confusing. So let's try to get a more simpler vocabulary, easier to follow without getting confused, like which review is this? And will that go before, after, or at the same time as comparing similar items?
I think the comparison matrix is like a specific feature of the store. So the order, I don't think matters too much, but we could just pick an arbitrary order. This particular user went through the process in whatever order we choose.
And say, and we can leave them in parallel as well if they really
Mhm.
are happening for different users at different times. Parallel processes are perfectly fine to have, and this is how they're represented.
Yep.
As they usually have their swim lanes. And I'm giving it more room in case we have to add more notes later. So
Right.
don't panic, like, why is it getting isolated? It's not, I promise you, there's some logic going on here. All right, so next is reviewed item. Is this more of the read product reviews?
I think that's making sure that it's the right thing, like the viewed item details. So like before you add it to your cart, you look at it and say, is this the right size? Is this the right color? Is this everything? So like it's confirm or something like that. But I
That
think that's
makes-
separate from went through some reviews, even though they're in the same column.
I think this is just a confusion of the review term and not confusion, but ambiguity.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to take out the went through some reviews or reviewed items. Viewed item details, I think would probably be more accurate in this case. Is everyone okay with that?
Actually, the viewed item details, I'm kind of looking at, when you search for an item, you come up with a list. You know,
Mhm.
possibly filter it, and then you select one.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
So maybe that comes before reading the product reviews.
Question. So we try to like create more comprehensive process because we can go in so many details and perhaps
Mhm.
process for different people will be different.
Yep.
Sure.
All right.
But it is true that mostly the reviews appear on the item details page in Amazon anyway.
Yes, you gotta scroll down for them. All right, we'll bring view item details in. Reviewed item, I think we've got enough different ways of reviewing the item that I'm gonna just remove it from the duplicates. Watching videos, oops. Went through some reviews, gonna take that one up. Watching more videos, do we want to keep that in as part of the review and move it in here as a parallel thing?
Yeah, make it a parallel thing.
Okay,
It's kind of an action, right? You have to click on something to view the video.
yep. So this is watch videos of the product. Just observing the past tense naming. Okay, so then we come into adding the item to the cart. And they're all essentially click item add, so you're adding that item. So we're just going to grab one of these, add item to the shopping cart. I see that multiple times and we're changing that to orange. And we'll get rid of our duplicates. All right, so we've got the item in the shopping cart. There's the open shopping cart. Now wait, I see a removed item from shopping cart
I
and
think
change order
I think
quantity. Go
that
ahead.
was someone was noting that when you go to complete your order, that the cart empties, right? Like it's an important step in the process that Amazon empties your cart after you place the order. I don't know
Gotcha.
which Steve Beckett, is that
Yeah.
what you were saying?
No, this was just, you've opened the shopping cart, you've reviewed it, maybe you changed the quantity, maybe you want to remove something from the shopping cart, so it kind of comes after.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Then it wasn't what I was thinking of. Okay. But it would be, if this were like a system design, we would probably want to make a note that at some point the system needs to clear out the shopping cart in the
Yeah,
process.
at the end.
I'm going to change the tense on open shopping cart to opened, just again, keeping with the past tense naming and switching that to orange. So yeah, removing from shopping cart, I could see that happening. What are we looking at here in terms of the?
Maybe those are parallel things that you might do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It seems that removing items and quantity would be kind of a very similar
Mhm.
even like a parallel kind of operation.
Yeah. I can see them as happening as a parallel. Okay. So then we get into the payment information. Now for this, we want to stay high level. I don't know if we need to go through the select the payment type, select and enter the information and details and like breaking it into that depth. So like going into payment type and payment method. I think we can boil that down to entering the payment details. Is everyone okay with that on dedupes? Awesome. And that follows the past tense, so you can just change it orange and payment type, payment method are out. Click to pay. I think the entered payment details would suffice on that.
Yeah, because I don't think we're ready to actually click the checkout button right there.
No, not there. Then there's the delivery address, shipping address, shipping address, shipping information, shipping details. I'm going to grab in our shipping information and we'll our duplicates out. We'll change this to orange. Shipping costs calculated. That does happen after shipping information. Same with the taxes. Those are done differently. Taxes I am keeping separately because they are part of the next conversation. Updated tax on order I can get rid of. I was the one who created the duplicate on that one. So
again, question. So when there are different people have different view on process. So what we're trying to achieve, like combine different opinions, or how we merge, or whatever we build.
we'll merge to something as close to a common as we can.
Yeah, it depends on which type of event storming you're doing.
Yeah.
But if a lot of times you'll start by modeling an existing process, and then you'll be talking about, well, we want to change the existing process, or we want to add a new feature or something like that. And it may be that different teams in the organization have a different idea of how this works. And so
Yep.
they'll all lay it out like this. And then hopefully there's someone in the room that actually knows the real answer. And they can say, well, actually, this is how sales tax is really done. And this is when it happens, right? Because that's the part I'm responsible for. And I work on that. And so the authority in the room should be the one that determines it if it's a thing that already happens. If it's a, how should it happen or how might it happen, then it's more just consensus and whatever folks agree on. And if you can't agree, you could just leave parallelism in there and say, well, it might be this or it might be that, right? It might go either way.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so once the sales tax is there, y'all are like, this order looks good. So we have some submit orders, click checkout, order submitted, process the order, process the payment, payment accepted. So the process of payment accepted, we can bring those in, or do you want, so that would be,
I'm expecting, like I did the click checkout and payment accepted. I'm expecting there to be a step in there where it goes and talks to the credit card processor, and then
Yep.
the payment is approved. And we only did happy path, but there might have been a payment declined,
Oh, yeah.
option.
yeah. Okay, so we're gonna take the click checkout and payment accepted. I'm gonna bring those in, and I'm just watching in for the sake of time. Process payment is out, process the order. Order submitted is gonna be after payment accepted. Okay. What else we have here? So process the order is a general one. What do we have here? We have an email received confirming order. That would definitely be after the order submitted. The process the order happens. The confirm order, that would probably be here with email received confirming order. Is it safe to remove this confirmed order?
Yeah, I think those are the same.
Yeah,
I think those are the same.
More checkout.
Submitted orders, a duplicate, canceled order. I'm going to take that out for now just because we're on a happy path.
Yeah, sure.
Processed order, item is shipped. Email with the shipping information, tracked order.
What is processed the order? So what
Process
exactly?
the order. So that's going to be something on the Amazon side. So you may be looking at this from the customer side. So you as the one who's shopping, this order has to get processed somehow.
That might be where they pull the things from the warehouse and they
Yep.
put it in a box and just label and do whatever they have to do. And they might have various systems where they have to say whatever happened, like, you know, the word.
Update inventory, make
Yeah.
sure that update the invoices, things
But
like that.
certainly that could be much more specific.
Yes.
As far as what that is.
But for this particular example, we can keep it a generic high level without getting too deep in it. Receive the item after a few days, deliver the order, deliver to the door. We'll go with delivered the order. If somebody's going to deliver that order, somebody's going to receive the item. Somebody's definitely going to get a text item or email. You open the package, added a product review. We'll bring that in there. All right, delivered is taken care of. Received is taken care of. Return item for credit. We're going to stay with Happy Path. Okay, so now that I have all these other ones, I'm gonna highlight them all, turn them to orange. Okay, so this is what we have here where we do the dedupe and everything is ordered. The next step, and I'm going to highlight these. And we want to unhide that. I'm going to paste those and bring them here. So the next part that we're going to do, and we have a few minutes on this, is we want to add our users, our systems, and our hotspots. So users are who's actually doing these. So who's opening the Amazon website? Who's searching for that? So we want to add post-its for that. So we'll add the yellow post-its. And I'm going to just copy and paste it here to make it easier. And you all should have this ability as well on your side. So you can copy yellow and we can say this one here. Who opened Amazon? Well, we can call it, is this the customer? Is this the, what do you want to call that person?
Well, customer sounds good.
Customer?
Yep.
So then what we would do for each of these events, in this case, because we're dealing with events, if some other event stormings, you might be dealing with commands, so they're written a bit differently. Before you get carried away with copying customer, let's shrink customer down a little bit more. So user roles tend to be smaller yellow stickies. They just kind of hang out in the corner of whatever they're attached to. Now you can copy and paste my customer one. That should be the right size to drag. So let's assign the users and roles. And the other thing I'm going to bring into this while we're dealing with that is also our system. So this is where we're talking about things like tax. So tax is calculated by a tax system. Is it actually by a tax system, an ERP system, some other kind of system? It's going to vary depending on your process. I used to work in e-commerce, and this actually evolved from a conversation we had where I was on the web team. And so we managed the store and our clients were having trouble placing orders, and we talked directly to an ERP system. What we didn't know is that that ERP system relied on a separate system to calculate taxes. So from having that conversation, we were able to learn, oh, that's what's out there. This is how this works. The other thing I like with event storming, when you have the right people in the room, is you identify what systems are involved, but you can also then identify who's responsible for those systems. So maybe you have an idea that that tax system is actually managed by, and you can then put the person's name. So you could say that Steve Smith manages the tax system. Sorry, boss. You're not managing taxes. So you could do something like that. So having those conversations not only helps you to understand what systems are there, but you may have those conversations when you're like, oh, wait a minute. Hold on, this person was searching for an item. There was a recommender, which was coming to AI and ML. A recommendation engine is now in here to help with that. So this allows you that. Now, you may be going through the process and you may have questions about them. So those questions are hotspots. And so you can copy the hotspot and ask questions like, what payment methods are supported. So you could bring in hotspots for things like that. Now we're running short on time, so I want to make sure we address what the next round would be, which is once you have these events, and once you have your users identified, and once you have your systems, and once you have your hotspots, when you're doing process modeling, the focus is on understanding those hotspots and being able to answer those questions. You want to address as many hotspots as you can. Your goal is to keep your stakeholders happy, or at least better understanding of the system or the process. And then addressing those hotspots. And then the takeaways are, okay, now that we have the hotspots addressed, how do we improve our process? Yep, what if the payments declined?
You have more hidden areas. I'm dying to know what's there.
What if the item is lost in transit? So if we, and I'll let you all continue with these. So the other hidden areas that you want to see, and I will zoom out on here on the Zoom view so you can see it's like, there's more hidden areas. What else are you hiding? So this next one here is if we were to address hotspots. So I would copy everything that we're working on here in round 3 down to round 4. I guess I could do that. Copy that down. Then I go to the next frame, which is round 4. And I say here on hide and paste and bring our friends over. So we have some hotspots that we need to address. And I'll zoom in so you can see I don't need to copy that, and that. But then when I zoom in, you can see address the hotspots. So we want to take a look at what are those hotspots and have those conversations of, okay, well, what if the price changed? What happens if the address is invalid? So we would have the conversations to answer these questions. And hopefully you have the right people in the room who can say, well, if the price changed during the cart process, do we grant a certain price within a window, or do we have to update the cart? What if the payments decline? What does that process look like? So we focused on happy paths, but then you can take this conversation further. And when you're doing event storming in like 3-4 hour chunks, then you can include the bad paths, the sad paths, the rough paths, whatever you want to call them, and have those conversations and have more sticky notes to include those conversations. So that's where this goes. This is for dealing with the hotspots. And then the last thing I have, and I will unhide that, is our recap. So how is this done? And you all got to experience today. This is process modeling at a high level, less than 1 hour activity. What were your thoughts? Can you see this helping you with conversations that you would need to have at work to make your coding life easier?
Yeah, definitely having a visual presentation in front of you will help. So everyone basically on the same page physically. So instead of everyone making his personal notes and have different view.
Exactly.
Yeah, and once you have this process model, this doesn't require any technical knowledge. So you can have folks from any part of the business involved in this process. And then you can take this and create a different Miro board, or even just a different part of a Miro board, and bring in just the dev team or the technical staff and really break this down and say, well, okay, well, how does this work in our system? You know, where do we have, you know, API calls between different distributed systems, or where's the events, you know, event bus or message queue that's being used, and, you know, how is that system communicating to this other system, et cetera, et cetera. So you can really start to turn this business process model into a system design as a next step if you want to. Usually you don't want all the high level business folks in the room for that, but it does provide a good starting point for your system design.
Yep. And this is something where if you want to implement event storming where you're at, but you're not sure how to incorporate it, reach out to us. And Nimble Pros will probably be able to help you with this. whether it's process modeling, big picture, system design, we'll be able to have those conversations and help you all as well.
Yeah, a lot of organizations, Alberto talks about this a fair bit, the creator of EventStorming. It's difficult for them to do it themselves because of the egos involved and the politics. So having like a third party that doesn't know anybody's turf and can just come in and objectively do this can sometimes be helpful. So that's where he's getting a lot of his business is helping companies do this kind of thing. And he's having a lot of success with it. And that's why EventStorming is becoming increasingly popular.
Yep, and I have a lot of resources that, yeah, 50,000, 100,000 sticky letter, and those were back in 2017 and 2019. So here we are. I don't know that are we at 500,000 or a million?
It's harder to count those because once COVID hit, we all went to virtual stickies, right? So.
Well, and yeah. So these are some of the resources that I've used with working with EventStorming. The books by Alberto Brandolini and Paul Rayner are incomplete, but for as much as there is there, it is a wealth of information. They're great guides to use. EventStorming.com is Alberto Brandolini's site for this as well. And then these two are the videos, so you can hear him talk about what he has learned from doing EventStorming with so many different companies. And all of these links will be made available in the thank you email that I send after every webinar. So after today's webinar, these links will be a part of those. And once this recording is available, I will update our thank you email and send that out. That'll probably go out tomorrow if I had to guess, just to make sure we have enough time to get all the links and things captured. All right.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks.
welcome. Thank you all.
Yes, thanks everyone. Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
presentation.
Yep.
Take care.